The following video was brought to you by Pony Patrol. When you need an enemy dead, check out the gang with the horsey head.
Greetings everyone and welcome to another Citizen's Corner. Of course I am Jarus and with me as always is my bastion of common sense Lightning Dragon. What and around the verse this week? I tell you what, we're going to take a couple days to process that and go over that in the Blastcast. But in the meantime, we have a few comments, a few questions and things we want to go over, and let's go ahead and get to it. Punk Hunter 25 says, I love Jingle's channel, but he jumped to some wild conclusions. Usually I feel he does lots of research into these things before he talks about them, but you can tell he hasn't kept up with Star Citizen. It's funny because he is always raving about how legendary Chris Roberts is, but he's always been critical of the game, even though he claims he has pledged over $1,000. Maybe he will take back some of what he said when 3.0 comes out. You know, honestly, I would expect him probably in this next Mingles with Jingles to probably make a statement about all the comments he made on that one. He'll probably go back and review the actual topic or read what people were saying about it and go, oops, I messed up.
I don't think he's going to touch it.
Really?
Because he doesn't read the comments anymore. When you get to a certain point on a certain size of channel, you just don't read comments anymore. You can't. There's just too many. Now, if he at least glances at them, he'll see that like 90% of the comments were negative.
Yeah.
But I mean, as for him addressing them, I personally I would hope so, because he was obviously wrong. I mean, not majorly wrong. It's more of a thing like if like, for example, if I was playing World of Warships and I said, oh yeah, you know, this new ship comes out and it has these stats, and it comes out, which ironically Jingle's channel, and it comes out and it's like, oh, actually the stats are like this and they're slightly wrong. I mean, it's kind of like, oh well, they must have changed, or maybe I misread something.
Right.
But the difference with Star Citizen, not that Star Citizen's some perfect pet thing that has to be put on a pedestal, nothing can touch it. It is being a crowdfunded game. It's important that it's not misrepresented, because it depends on people, backing the game, giving them money to help continue making the game. There's no publisher behind this.
Yeah.
So
and we've all seen the barrages of vaporware, and we'll finish sometime by the year 2049, on and on and on. And frankly, it's very, very irritating and frustrating, and it sounds vindictive, but sometimes I want to go back to all those channels when the game's released and just type wrong in response to every one of them. Because it just feels like that, because, we see the development, we see what's happening with it. As I said, we don't agree with everything all the time, but, you can't look at something like Around the Verse this week and say, well, they haven't made any progress. I mean, clearly they've made some magnificent progress, and I'm going to watch that Around the Verse a few more times to really get some thoughts on it, and
definitely worth a watch or two, that's for sure.
James Hanna says, having access to other ship systems in a turret would be great, especially if a turret gunner could lock and engage targets with ship-mounted missiles, in addition to the turret guns. That will go a long way to making the Freelancer turret worth crawling into.
You know what else would make the Freelancer turret worth crawling into?
Good line of sight?
Bigger guns.
Oh, that too.
It has size 1 guns. They are totally worthless in the current meta, and I hate even using that term.
That's true, the guns are pretty weak.
Well,
it's not only that, but like okay, example, like on the Freelancer in the middle, there's this weird scoop wing thing that kind of sticks up,
which means you can't shoot forward.
Right. It really hampers your build. Now the coverage in the back's pretty good. I mean, don't get me wrong. Any turret you put somewhere is going to have an obstruction or limitations. That's a given. But I would be absolutely for them allowing turret gunners to lock up missiles if that's a possibility. It depends if that's. It depends, I guess, in the end, how they work the radar. If the radar only is a forward-based cone, or if the radar is just something like you could attach like a radar somehow to a turret, I don't know. But I really
was a turret replacement option. Yeah. That'd be kind of interesting. Like maybe you sacrifice your
Freelancer
guns.
Miss. You have the turret gunner is actually just
gone on that, isn't it?
I think it has a turret. I could be wrong, but I thought
they removed the turret for the missiles.
Yeah, you might be right.
But anyway. Having like a turret, instead of you having guns on it, it has additional radar coverage, so you can like scan farther away or deeper away, and you could even apply that to an exploration ship like the Aquila. Is that the right one?
Yeah, that's Constellation Aquila. Aquila, how you pronounce it.
Yeah, so if you look at that one, maybe you replace both turrets and you go 100% exploration and stuff. So you have the main scanning, whatever. Then you have an additional like directional scanner where okay, we're scanning over here. We want you to go and look over here. We thought we saw something interesting there. So you can have a turret operator operating a second set now. Maybe it'd be insanely massive on like CPU time and stuff, but that'd be something that you could add to the game. And if you had you could tie like the radar to the missiles if that was how they're doing things.
So, I just looked at the Freelancer miss.
Uh-oh.
It does actually say, well, nope, you're right. There's no man turret. I was looking at that.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because
you're absolutely
turret
right
for the extra missiles.
Yeah, there's so many variants of ships, it's hard to keep track of it. So Lightning Dragon is correct.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Points for him.
And to go back to the previous question, the stuff changes all the time. So, you can't always be right. And you have to keep up on the game to know all this stuff. I mean, you can't just be like passing by and go, oh, I heard this about Star Citizen. Yeah, well, maybe you heard this, but there's like 50 reasons why this happened. And it's sometimes it's daunting. And so you can't expect everyone to have all the answers. A
lot of times people have really simple statements that can be answered with really deep and complex answers. And it sometimes is almost more effort than it's worth, because in the end they're just going to basically stick their fingers in their ears and
la 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 la, can't hear you. Next
proof
question.
is in the pudding. We'll just have to wait till it comes out and then show them this delicious pudding. Mr. Vey says engine trails killing stealth before we get stealth. Yeah, I can understand that perspective on that, and I would imagine that stealth engines would have the engine trails masked or hidden, or maybe
which
reduced.
I believe there was a large comment train talking about just this thing in our last video.
Yeah, and I would imagine that they would destroy the whole concept. But then again, also as well, when it comes to stealth, remember, part of being stealth is how much of your systems you have up and running as well. You can have a really stealthy ship, but if you're running like all your shields up and everything, all your weapons are on, everything like that, you're going to be putting out a SIG. So a lot of times what adds to the stealth is, for example, if you're moving in a direction, it's space. You can just drift. You shut the engines down. You shut down all systems except maybe what you need, except for passive radar, and you're looking for something. And your hull composition, the way your ship is built, will also further reduce potential of being scanned.
Possible background radiation, because there's background radiation in space all the time.
Right. So I think if your engines are really cooking, if that's the way you're kind of running, you're not approaching it very stealthy anyway. So we'll have to see how the whole dynamic comes on that, but I can definitely understand that perspective. I just think that stealth is a much bigger package.
Also, another thing to quote Hitchhiker's Guide for the Galaxy: space is big. It's really big.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, like, to continue on with the stealth subject just a little bit, Mass Effect 1, which is my personal favorite of the series.
Me too.
I think 1 was probably the best written. Maybe some of the mechanic-wise, obviously, were not super good, but overall, I think it was a superior game to all the other ones. And they made like their own lore in this, and they actually talked about the stealth mechanics. And the reason the Normandy was stealthy is because it had really huge heat sinks, so it'd keep all that heat, and had a refrigerated hull. Because one of the things they talk about is if you're looking out of space, well, space is just a big black void. I mean, if you've gone outside in the middle of the night where it's pitch black, you probably can't even see like 5 feet in front of you, because it's just utter blackness. Emperor Palpatine there. And so the reason the Normandy was so stealthy is because it shut its engines off, and then it had like these if the engines were even on to a certain degree, it took the emissions, the heat from the engine, and it like pulled that inside and refrigerated it, and that's why it had to have such a big drive core so it could run all those systems. But it couldn't run indefinitely, because otherwise you'd cook everybody inside alive. So if you're flying around in space, first of all, there's a range thing. The engine trails might only be in like knife fighting range where you actually visually see them, because space is big. It's really big. So while I understand engine trails being like maybe not, it's very arcadey, I personally don't want them in the game. But after thinking about it for this last week or so now,
at least.
I really don't think they're going to be that big of a deal, because when you get really far away, I don't think you're going to even see them. And then not to mention that stealth engines probably won't even have these. So, hey, maybe everyone's going to run stealth engines and get a minor speed penalty, so they don't have engine trails.
Yeah, I mean, if that just offers another choice, I mean, talking about how different components do different things, maybe that is a choice someone would want to make just for that reason. I don't know. Tony Garcia says, in my opinion, contrails are fine in atmosphere, but in space, they should not be visible to the naked eye. The only way one can see them if they have advanced sensors. With this, they can make use of specialized ships or any that have them. One example is in Chronicles of Riddick, when the Necromongers use a device to see emissions from an escaped ship. Yeah, actually, I love the Chronicles of Riddick series. I love the Chronicles of Riddick games. They're fantastic. If you haven't played them, check them out. They're really cheap on GOG or Steam. And absolutely, I can see that point of view as being part of a scanning mechanic. But, you know, we do have the visual...
a long-range scan?
Yeah, well, I mean, I could see the whole visual thing definitely, you know, like you have your visual one, but long range, like there should be like, well, let's look at it this way as well. How about Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country? You know, you got the cloaked bird of prey out there, and they fire a torpedo that basically follows the whole flight path of the bird of prey by following its gas emissions as it was traveling. So in a sense, like, you have sensors that could go out there and see that, even see the trails that are left behind from the ship that's been through there recently. Of course, given enough time, there'll be dispersion, but once again, space is big, space is empty, and it will probably take some time for that to disperse. But I imagine a mechanic like that would be ideal for bounty hunters and things like that.
Honestly, when you bring up the bounty hunters thing, you need mechanics like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you want to see kind of traffic in an area, like you can do a scan for trails and see, like, well, you find an asteroid field and you're thinking about going out there and going mining, and you got a crew with you, and one of the things you do is you scan down for trails, and what looks like an abandoned asteroid field you see has a lot of traffic. You're like, this may actually be a pirate den, so you may decide not to stop there and mine because you can see it's heavily traveled. So I would like to see mechanics like that that allow you to scan down the trails in the past or whatnot. But who knows? That might be too much for the game engine to try to memorize all the trails. We'll have to see what they do. All right, and finally, Leica Magic says, how come you have a Mark II eyeballs when I only have Mark I eyeballs? Well, that's because I'm a cybernetic organism. No, actually, it's because I have glasses. My Mark I
was gonna correct him in that, but it's like, wait, no, I know why he said it.
I'm part man, part machine. No, my Mark I eyeballs.
Files.
My Mark I eyeballs are crap, so I have to use my Mark IIs. In fact, without my Mark IIs on, I can't even see them with my Mark Is. I have to put down my glasses in the same spot every day, or I will literally not be able to find them. I cannot see. If you were standing 2 feet in front of me and I didn't have my glasses on, I wouldn't be able to see the details of your face. That's how crap my eyes are. So yeah, definitely Mark II eyeballs. All right, guys. Well, I think that's everything for this week. Some good comments. There were some really long posts in there. I really enjoyed reading them, and I'm glad you guys are liking some of the deeper discussions. And I think we're going to have a heck of a discussion about this week's Round the Verse. But, you know, as I said, I want to watch through it a few more times, kind of get some thoughts put together about it. I don't want to just jump on it like in 24 hours and say, here's everything without really thinking about it. So, but
here's all the stuff they showed. We're just going to talk about the exact same thing they talked about. Oh, our channel is so amazing. No, go watch Around the Verse. It was good. Watch it twice if you want to, and then come back here in a couple days or whenever the Blastcast goes up, and then you can hear our opinions on the stuff. But
and when you watch it,
I'm pretty sure it's all going to be good stuff from us.
Yeah, and when you watch it, there's something you need to pay attention to, the things that aren't said. Look at the attitudes of the people presenting the information. You'll notice something, and you'll notice something good. So if you really pay attention to that, sometimes it's what isn't said that can just be as powerful as that which is said. As always, leave comments, questions, or complaints down below, mostly about lightning. And we will catch you next time. Okay, he's not going to say it. Bye.
No, I'm not.